English might be the last thing on your mind today, but we don't mind because we hope to change your mind in today's episode about, you guessed it, expressions with the word mind. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
Hello, and if you are a new listener, you're very, very welcome. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And together with over 45 years of teaching English between us, Reza and I are going to help you improve your English and take everything up to the next level. How are you doing, Reza?
I'm doing really well, Craig. I'm fine. What about you?
I'm very well. It's good to be back and podcasting again. We're starting this week with an audio message from Machus from Valencia, who we have heard from before, Maria Jesus. She's going to congratulate us on something. Let's listen to Machus's message.
Hello, Reza. Hello, Greg. This is Machus from Valencia. Firstly, to congratulate for your amazing program and the desire that you will continue at least as well as in the past years. I find it hard using some polite expressions in oral communication because I don't know the exact meaning in Spanish. And these are related to the verb to mind. One is mind how you go, and the other one is mind you. And another thing that I want to make clear is when someone says thank you, it's the same to use you're welcome or likewise. It is polite, this last expression. Thank you and don't change, keep on going. Bye.
Thank you, Machus. It's lovely hearing from you again and very good pronunciation, very clear message, and always a pleasure to hear from you. Any comments, Reza?
I would repeat the same. Machus, that was a really clear message. Thanks very much. Keep it up. That means keep doing it. However, I did notice a tiny mistake you said. You said congratulate for, but congratulate is a verb. You mean congratulations. Congratulations. And it's followed by on. Congratulations on something.
Or she could say, I want to congratulate you on your podcast. So, yeah, you could use the verb as well. You use the preposition on. So your questions, Machus, you asked about mind, and we're going to look at many different expressions today connected with the word mind. So thank you for your idea. But let's look at likewise. First of all, someone says, thank you. You wouldn't say likewise, would you, in reply to that?
Not usually.
Not usually. It's not common. Likewise is igualmente. So maybe if you said to me, oh, I really enjoyed podcasting today, I would say, yeah, likewise, which means me too, igualmente, yo también. Or I had a lovely time this evening, likewise. Or I really enjoyed your company, yeah, likewise. Me too. Or it's getting late, I think I'll go to bed. Yeah, likewise, which means me too, I will also go to bed. So it just means igualmente. What would you say in reply to thank you, Reza, normally?
I wouldn't say likewise. For thank you, I would say thank you. And I would put emphasis on the word you.
Maybe with no before. No, thank you.
Or thanks to you too. Or something like that. But I wouldn't say likewise in reply to thank you.
No. Maybe don't mention it, you could say. Or no problem, not at all is quite formal. Thank you. Oh, not at all. So Machus asked about a couple of expressions with mind. One was mind how you go. When someone's leaving, you would use that. For example, okay, I'm going now. See you. Bye. Yeah, mind how you go. Maybe in Spanish, would you say cuídate? You could also say take care or all the best or see you later. So those chunks, those trozos of language when someone's leaving and you say, see you, take care, all the best. Another one you could use is mind how you go. So that's one use of mind when somebody's leaving. Mind how you go.
So, Maciusz, you also asked about the expression mind you. Let's give an example and we'll talk about it. He looks very young in this photo. Mind you, it was taken years ago. Mind you, it was taken years ago. Mind you, saying like, although you have to take into account. I love hot weather. Mind you, July and August in Valencia is too hot for me. So, yeah, I do like hot weather. Mind you, July and August is too hot. So when you use mind you, you're kind of contradicting, or let's say subtracting a bit from what you've said before.
It's kind of like por otro lado, maybe.
Yeah, por otro lado.
I could say I really enjoy drinking red wine. Mind you, it gives me a terrible headache the next day.
Yeah. So you're like taking away strength or looking for or pointing out a negative side in what you've just said.
I really like the new restaurant that's opened up in our area. Mind you, it's a bit expensive. What other expressions do we have with mind or to mind?
Well, there are plenty of expressions, but I think I'd quite like to just start first with the verb to mind, because it can be used on its own. So yeah, we got expressions like mind how you go, mind you, etc. But just the verb to mind on its own, to mind, is like to be bothered. To bother is molestar. So if you mind something, you're bothered, te molesta. So imagine I ask, do you mind if I open the window? Do you mind? I'm asking, is it a problem for you? Is it a problem for you? Do you mind? Is that going to be a problem? Is it going to bother you? Or imagine two people speaking and A says, what do you want for dinner? Meat or fish?
I don't mind. I like both.
Craig doesn't mind. He would eat meat or he would eat fish. Neither is a problem for him. He doesn't mind.
But there's a difference between I don't mind and I don't care sometimes. I don't mind is very neutral. No me importa. I don't care could be, me da igual. Like you're doing, what do you want? Do you want to eat pizza again? Oh, I don't care. It's often in a negative way, especially with that kind of intonation. But as Reza said, I don't mind is usually just fairly neutral. It doesn't matter.
And if I ask you, do you mind if I open the window? If it's not a problem for you, you would say no. That means no, I don't mind. In other words, open it if you want. You say no, not yes. If you're giving the person permission to open the window, when they say, do you mind if I open the window? You say no.
So it's like te importa. Yeah, the answer is the negative
No me
if it's
importa.
okay. No me importa.
No, go ahead, open it.
Do you mind if I smoke?
But Craig, can you think of any other meaning of to mind just on its own? The verb to mind?
Well, it could mean to be careful or to take care. For example, imagine the mother's leaving the house and says to her older son, you mind your little brother, we're going out now. So that means you take care of your little brother. Make sure nothing bad happens. Look after him. You mind him. That means you look after him. You take care of him. You're careful.
Or I often take Coco the dog for a walk in a park, and lots of dogs go there. And where dogs go, there's going to be some dogs' dirt. They're going to make a mess. They have to do their business, go to the toilet. But I learned to mind where I stepped in the park full of dogs' dirt. I don't want to step in the mess made, the toilet mess made by another dog. So I've learned to mind, to be careful, to take care, to mind where I step in the park.
Get down, Coco. Another expression with mind is mind your own business. For example, somebody asks you a very personal question and you think it's definitely not something that concerns the person and you do not want to answer. You could say, mind your own business. Stop interfering. That's nothing to do with you. That's not your business. If I said to you, Reza, how much money do you earn?
Mind your own business.
Reza, have you had sex this week?
Mind your own business.
It's nothing to do with me. It's not my business. So mind your own business is a very abrupt way of saying that's nothing to do with you.
Craig, have you ever been in two minds about something?
I have. I'm very indecisive, which means I don't decide things easily. So I've often been in two minds. Just yesterday, I was out shopping looking for a new pair of slippers, and it took me maybe 25, 30 minutes to decide which pair of slippers to buy. Slippers are the shoes you wear in the house, because I'm very indecisive when I go shopping. So I'm often in two minds what to buy or what to do and what to decide.
Would you be in two minds if I offered you a dark chocolate or a milk chocolate biscuit?
No, that would be very, very easy for me to choose dark chocolate.
So he's very quick to make up his mind about that, to
Yep.
decide. Yeah, no problem there. Dark chocolate.
I make up my mind very quickly. When you make up your mind, you reach a decision. You decide something. It's the opposite of being indecisive.
Another expression we've got is to bring to mind. That means it reminds me of something. It makes me remember. Tea and biscuits bring to mind my time spent in the UK because it's such a British thing to do. So having tea and biscuits brings it to mind. It makes me remember. What other things come to mind or cross your mind when you think of the time when you were in the UK, Craig?
When I think of the UK, the weather obviously comes to mind, and lovely evenings in British pubs, drinking beer in front of a fire in a nice, cosy, nice, warm English pub with good beer. That comes to mind. That crosses my mind. What about you?
Yes, something similar actually, yes. Because great minds think alike.
That's right.
Great minds think alike. We have the same idea.
Another expression is to keep in mind or bear in mind. B-E-A-R. Bear in mind, which means remember. So, for example, when you do the exam, bear in mind that you won't be able to use a dictionary. Bear in mind you won't be able to use your mobile phone. Remember. Tenelo en mente.
Craig, do you often change your mind?
No, I don't. No, I'm very decisive. I'm always changing my mind. To change your mind is to change your decision.
Craig, you told me you were going to make a visit this year. Are you still going to do that?
No, I was going to visit Mickey Mouse at Euro Disney in Paris, but I've changed my mind. What have you changed your mind about recently?
I've changed my mind recently and many times over the last 10 years about what I would do in my flat. How I was going to do a Doppler reform. I've changed my mind about 500 times.
But now you've made up your mind.
I've made up my mind and no one is going to change my mind. I am going to do up my flat this year, I promise.
Bear in mind it's going to be quite expensive.
Yes, that's true.
To get something or someone out of your mind means to stop thinking about someone or something. No matter how hard I try, I can't get her out of my mind. Imagine you're fixated with a man or a woman or something or somebody, and you keep thinking, you continually think about that thing or person. You cannot get them out of your mind.
Like Mickey, for example.
Like Mickey, for example. I think I'm going out of my mind thinking about Mickey Mouse. To go out of your mind means to go crazy or mad. Have you gone out of your mind about something? Have you lost your mind?
Yes, my flat and how to do it up. It's made me go crazy over the years.
You're losing your mind.
I am, yeah. And I tell you what, workmen who do up flats often do a bad job. If I need to, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind.
I think you probably will have to. What does that mean? To give someone or give a workman a piece of your mind?
To tell them what you really think. Like you're annoyed. Like imagine your neighbors make a lot of noise. You could say, I'm going to give my neighbors a piece of my mind about the noise they're making. It's been annoying me and I'm going to finally tell them.
So imagine your plumber or your electrician or your painter does a bad job, what will you do?
I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. I'm going to tell them off.
So probably with all the planning and all the estimates from builders, you have a lot on your mind at the moment. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Because I have it in mind to do up my flat, I've got a lot to think about. I've got a lot on my mind. Yeah, to have something in mind is you're considering it. And if you have a lot on your mind, that means you've got a lot to think about. Worries, concerns, problems. Have you got a lot on your mind?
I've had a lot on my mind lately, quite a bit on my mind actually. Yeah, mainly work, also some family health issues. So there's been quite a bit on my mind since the beginning of the year. Yeah, it's been busy.
Would you say you're an open-minded person, Craig?
I think generally speaking, yes, with most things. I don't know if you'd agree. I think I'm fairly open-minded. Open-minded is the adjective, to be open-minded. And you can have an open mind about things. You can have an open mind about sexual relationships. You can have an open mind about religion, about politics. What about you? Do you think you've got an open mind?
I think so, yeah. I'm prepared to listen to any kind of explanation or new idea. Give it a chance.
We've got quite an important work meeting this week, so I suggest you go into the meeting with an open mind.
Craig, do you have a mind of your own? That means, are you capable of making your own decisions?
Not about buying slippers, no. If I'm shopping, then I don't usually have a... No, I think I have a mind of my own. Yeah. What about you?
I think so, yeah. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. Sometimes having a mind of my own gets me into trouble. But you need to have your independence, don't you? You need to make your own decisions.
So if you're going to give someone advice, then if they don't have an open mind, or if they really have a mind of their own, it's difficult for them to accept your advice and to keep an open mind.
Craig, do you want to stop and have a meal right now?
Well, actually, I'd rather keep podcasting. Food is the last thing on my mind right now because I'm concentrating on the podcast.
It's the last thing on your mind, you say?
Yeah, it's of the least importance to me. If something is the last thing on your mind, it's the thing you are definitely not thinking about, the furthest from your thoughts. What's the last thing on your mind at the moment? Work.
Work, yeah. You said it, yeah.
Sometimes people swear, they say bad words, and you might hear the expression, mind your language. Mind your language means be careful what you say. Don't swear. Maybe if there are children in the room and somebody says the F word in English, you might say, hey, there's children here. Hey, mind your language. Don't swear.
Did your mother say that to you when you were a child?
Yeah, and my dad. Yeah, when he wasn't swearing.
My grandmother used to say that, and if I didn't pay attention to her words and I stupidly said a bad word, she would literally get a cloth, a wet cloth, un trapo, and start like rubbing my tongue like to clean my
Really?
mouth. Yeah.
Wash your mouth out.
Yes, quite literally. Yeah.
Wow.
So I really had to mind my language when my grandmother was around.
Did she say mind your language or mind your tongue? Because that's another common one. Mind your tongue.
Sometimes she said that. She mixed them. Yeah. Mind your language and mind your tongue.
Sometimes you forget something momentarily. You forget something for us. That happens to me more and more as I'm getting older. If your memory completely disappears, you can say, my mind went blank. My mind went blank. I'm unable to think of what I want. Example, you're doing a speaking test in English and you want to use a word in English and it's a word you know, but suddenly, because of the stress, you're very nervous, your mind goes blank. Your mind goes blank and you can't think of the word.
Well, never mind. Don't worry. It's not the end of the world. If I say never mind, that means, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. It's one of those things. Don't worry. What else am I going to say?
Your mind's gone blank.
My mind has gone blank, literally. Live on the podcast, this is, you see, it really happens. Oh, never mind. I'm just getting old.
Never mind. Never mind, Reza. Don't worry. It's not important. I don't think that Reza is in his right mind. Now, if you're not in your right mind, that means you're not behaving in a logical or sensible way. For example, Julie wasn't in her right mind when she bought those ridiculous shoes. Or Craig wasn't in his right mind when he bought those pink slippers. If you do something silly, you could say, he wasn't in his right mind.
Did you choose pink slippers in the end today?
No, I didn't. No.
I think I can imagine Craig in little fluffy pink slippers.
These are my slippers. Look, for those of you listening and not watching the video, there's no video. They're grey slippers. They're quite normal. And those are the slippers I bought yesterday. So I think I was in my right mind.
Oh, they're very nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Craig, I know you have a one-track mind.
Yep.
You only ever think about one thing.
Yep.
Bloody podcasts.
Mickey Mouse.
And Mickey Mouse.
To have a one-track mind, track is pista, to have a one-track mind to only think about one thing or one subject. Some men have a one-track mind. They only think about football.
Out of sight, out of mind. What could that mean? Well, it means if you don't see someone much, frequently, you'll forget about them. So as soon as he retired, he was forgotten. Out of sight, out of mind. Imagine he'd worked there for 30 years. He retired, and about 3 weeks later, nobody even mentioned his name because he wasn't there anymore. Out of sight, out of mind.
I can think of a few people who have worked in our school.
Yes.
Some of them I really miss and I remember fondly, which means I remember them in a nice way with a lot of fondness and cariño. But some of them, I must admit, out of sight, out of mind. They left the school and I don't think of them. They're out of my mind.
Craig, when you're nervous, is there anything that can put your mind at ease?
In what respect?
Let's say, for example, you have to give a talk about podcasting, as you often do, and you're nervous because you've never spoken in this place before. Is there anything anyone could say or do that would put your mind at ease, that would reassure you, that would stop you worrying?
Not really. Nothing that people can say or do. But what puts my mind at ease is rehearsing the presentation before I speak and knowing the material well. And also knowing the subject well, so to feel confident that I can answer questions and to know what I'm speaking about. That puts my mind at ease. For example, if I wanted to do a presentation about the violin, then nothing would put my mind at ease because I know nothing about the violin, so I'd be very, very nervous.
Well, let me put your mind at ease, Craig. You are, I think, one of the best podcasters there is. So you've never anything to worry about when you're podcasting. I'm the one needs to worry, I think. Can you put my mind at ease? Is there anything you can say to stop me worrying about mucking up these podcasts?
No, you never muck up a podcast. You are the reason the podcast's so successful. So let me put your mind at ease. You have nothing to worry about.
Oh, thank you very much. I think he's lying, listeners, but it puts my mind at ease anyway to hear it.
Reza, if I said to you, I can read your mind, what does that mean?
Leer los pensamientos, so he knows what I'm thinking. Time for a cup of tea, do you think, yeah?
Oh, you read my mind.
Ah, yeah.
You knew what I was thinking. You read my mind.
We both wanted a tea break at the same time. As soon as I said it, Craig was about to say the same thing. He said, yeah, you read my mind.
Because we usually have a tea break after the first podcast we record, but this is the third podcast today. So after the first podcast, it completely slipped my mind to make a cup of tea. If something slips your mind, you forget it. I nearly forgot you were coming today, Reza. It completely slipped my mind.
Craig, would you say you're a person who likes to speak your mind? Do you say things frankly and honestly? You say what you really think?
Not as much as I'd like to. I try to speak my mind as often as possible, but I think I probably should do it more, to be more honest and frank and say what's on my mind. If I say what's on my mind, I speak my mind. What about you? Do you speak your mind all the time?
Not all the time, but I try to as much as I can. But I think I've learned not to do it so much. I think I maybe did it too much when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've got older, I don't speak my mind so much.
Why not?
Because it can
Is it getting you into trouble?
Yeah, I think it has a few times when I was in the past, when I was younger. So now I've learned just to bite my tongue and not always speak my mind. So I try to avoid lying. I try to avoid saying things which are not true. But rather than speaking my mind, I just stay quiet.
Silence is golden, they say. If something takes your mind off something, it stops you thinking about something unpleasant. For example, when I go to the dentist, I try to think about relaxing on a beach, drinking a Mai Tai cocktail, enjoying the sunset and the view, and that takes my mind off being at the dentist. So you imagine something to remove the unpleasant experience. Can you think of another example?
Well, some people turn to drugs or alcohol to take their mind off their problems. Is there anything you turn to? Any substance?
Chocolate. If I'm having a bad day and I come home in a bad mood, then I'll have a couple of pieces of 70% dark chocolate, and that takes my mind off a bad day. What about you? Have a nice glass of wine?
Yeah, not every day, but sometimes. Just sometimes. Oh dear, it seems that both Craig and I suffer from substance abuse. Mine is Ribera del Duero and Craig's is 70% cacao. Chocolate.
Well, if it takes your mind off something, I don't think it's too much of a problem. It's not heroin, is it?
Craig, mind the gap.
Mind the gap? Where? What?
Be careful.
When? How? When?
You might hear this in an English-speaking country, in an underground station, a metro station. Quite often they say, or it's written on a sign, mind the gap. It means be careful with the gap, the space between the train and the platform. Mind the gap. Mind, be careful.
So we hope that these expressions with mind have helped you improve and expand your vocabulary. Thank you very much for listening. It's now your turn to practice your English. We would like to hear from you what you would like us to speak about in the future. So if there is some sort of English doubt on your mind that you would like us to speak about, or question, any kind of suggestion for a future topic, please let us know. You can reach us on SpeakPipe and send us a voice message. That's speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. What about emails, Reza?
You could email Craig. That's craig@inglespodcast.com.
Or go to Reza by email at belfastreza@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit our online store if you are in the market for English courses. There are many to choose from at store.mansioningles.net.
And thanks to all our wonderful patrons on the Patreon scheme. If you want to find out their names, they're written in the show notes on the website. And a special thanks to our gold sponsor, that's Bruno. Bruno offers walking tours of the city of Copenhagen in Denmark, and he does it in English or Spanish. To find out about Bruno's tours, have a look at copenhagenwalkingtour.com. Or if you're interested in going around the favela of Rio de Janeiro in a tour led by local guides, so it's safe and it helps the community, you could do that with Bruno. Have a look at his website, favelawalkingtour.com.br.
And if you're interested in joining our lovely long list of Patreon supporters and sponsors for as little as $1 per month, you can get instant access to recent transcriptions of this podcast that have been lovingly transcribed by Angelica. You can find details at patreon.com, patreon.com/Ingles podcast. And welcome to our latest Patreon sponsor, Luis Lobo Martinez, who has joined the program. Next week, we have no idea what we're speaking about at the moment, so please send us your suggestions by email or by voice message. We will be more than happy to consider and speak about your suggestions for future episodes. Until then, thanks for listening. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.